welcome to the next episode of the Weekly Ruffle. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Jamie.
And today we're going to be talking about petticoats and bloomers.
The essentials, gals.
Absolutely. So we wanted to start off first by saying that in order for your outfit to be Lolita, you really do need to wear a petticoat. Without it, you're not going to have the right shape, and it's really going to be more of an Otome-K coordinate or a Dolly-K coordinate. So maybe you like your dress, you don't feel like wearing a petticoat with it, that's totally fine. Just don't claim it's Lolita, no problem. But if you really do want to be an authentic Lolita, you need a petticoat and you want to get a good one. So we wanted to take the time today to talk about our experience with petticoats, some suppliers we're familiar with, and a few other things related to that. So
we're going to start with just some suppliers because of course everybody's always wondering where to get them. 100% best place to get them, and everybody kind of testifies to this, is that Classical Puppets is fantastic. On our little cost meter, we're giving them $2 signs. I think I just purchased one from them and it ran me about $27 by the time, because I actually went through Taobao. I went through a shopping service. Drew a blank on that. It's on its way now, but it only cost me about $27. Their stuff is always super, super poofy. I've heard amazing things about it. I don't have it yet, but I will have it soon. So Classical Puppets on Taobao is really good. You don't have to order through Taobao or use a shopping service to get them from them. You can also go by Cutieland, and you can also order through Clova. Personal preference on which one of those you want to order from if you do, but they also do both supply those.
do keep in mind, if you order from Cutieland or Clova online, there will be a larger service fee tacked onto that. So if you're on a budget, definitely think about looking into, does Japonica Market do anything with Taobao, or are they specifically?
I'm not sure. I used Celestial Delinquent.
Okay,
for mine.
So Celestial Delinquent. Also, I've heard great things about Taobao Spree, and there are some smaller individuals who can provide a shopping service for you. So just do some research and check into reviews for those. I know that EGL, a lot of people talk about what service they used and how responsive they were. So definitely look at those if you're trying to save some money on this. But the cost is pretty, you get what you pay for, basically.
Absolutely.
So that leads us into the bodyline petticoat issue. Body
half of a dollar sign.
Half a dollar sign, yes, on our chart here. So they do provide petticoats, and they're perfectly fine for Fairy K. They come in a range of colors. They're cute. They've got bows on them. They're totally affordable. Problem is, they deflate very, very quickly.
Like we're talking one wear or half a wear?
Half a wear from what I've read. Like halfway through your meetup, you're gonna be. So by all means, buy them for your Fairy K, your costumes, whatever else. Don't imagine that they're gonna work for your Lolita, because they're not. So again, if you are on a budget, I understand going to Bodyline first, but Classical Puppets is pretty reasonable, and they have a wide variety of shapes. They go all the way from, sort of poof bell all the way up to super poofy bell, and the same goes for A-line. They've got small everyday A-line wear, and then they've got super poof A-line wear. And there are actually a few charts on Tumblr that I've seen where they've actually put the various petticoats under the same dress to show you the same.
I've seen those, yeah.
The same amount. So if we find that, we will link that in the video, in the comment box below, so that you can see what we're talking about. But it's a really good reference for you to kind of understand, how much poof you're really getting. So, but if you are on a budget and you don't want to go Classical Puppets route, because they can take quite a while to get made, check into the other brands that Clova and Cutieline offer. I ordered my first petticoat through Clova online. I had a great experience. I actually chose one that was already in stock, which was the Dear Celine fluffy petticoat. I think it might also be called marshmallow petticoat in a few cases. But when I got it, it was super, super fluffy, and it was a cupcake shape. It kind of deflated over time, but it's still quite poofy. It's just about where I like it. When I first got it, it was almost too much poof for me, but now it's kind of settled down. So The quality is great. It's lined on the inside, so it's not going to be all itchy if you're just wearing over the knee socks or whatever that day. So I would definitely recommend one of those as a starter petticoat. But there are a bunch of other indie brands that are out there.
Lots of them, but definitely Google is your friend on that. If you find an indie brand that provides some of the petticoats and you're like, oh, this looks really good, I wonder who they are, go to Google. Please just open a new tab, go to Google, type in whatever indie brand it is, and just type in like petticoat review. You will be able to find something out there. I promise you that. There's always going to be some kind of resource for you to find answers. And if there's anything that you really need to do your research on, it's definitely with the petticoats, because a petticoat is something you don't want to have buyer's remorse on, because you can spend, you can buy 3 petticoats from Bodyline and maybe it's going to be a good price, but if you get them and they all deflate, you're like, well, I just wasted my money. So don't waste your money. If you need to save up for a little bit just to be able to get a Classical Puppets one or one from Dear Celine, or even if a brand one is your thing, brand's going to be a lot more, but if that's your thing, definitely save up. Don't get buyer's remorse with a petticoat. Absolutely, just avoid that 100% if you can, because that's your basic. That's your foundation for everything else in this fashion.
You can interchange blouses and skirts and dresses all you want, but you're going to wear a petticoat every time you wear Lolita. So you want to get one that is going to last, and you want to get one that is comfortable. So keep those things in mind when you're considering cost, because again, you really do get what you're paying for. And on that note, yes, brands do offer petticoats, and
$5 signs.
Yes, they are on the expensive end. So if you really want to feel luxurious, by all means, go ahead and buy one. They're going to be a great shape. They're going to be exactly what you want.
They're probably going to last a little bit longer. But also, on that same note again, a petticoat, it's going to deflate over time anyway. It's not a lifetime thing. Like, you buy a really nice blazer, you wear it for 3 to 5 years maybe. If you keep wearing it enough, if you're going to wear Lolita as much as you think you are, it's going to deflate over time and you will need to replace it. So don't assume it's going to be a lifetime thing. You have to replace bras, you have to replace undies. Same thing, you're going to have to replace a petticoat at some point. But again, if you want to invest in brand or something, it's going to last you longer. So it's just going to drag that out a little bit.
Right. But that's not to say that, brand is the only one that can make super fluffy, long-lasting petties. Jamye actually recently bought from MeLikesTea.
I did.
She did a review on that as well, so we can link that as well so that you can see what she got and her process and all of that. You go over most of that in there.
I do. I think I need to provide a link below it, because it was not the most professionally shot review ever. I had no one there to help me when I was filming it, so I was kind of holding it with one hand, holding the petticoat with the other hand, but it was absolutely massive. It was so poofy. I've only been able to wear it once since it's so big, but it still got all that shape in it. It did not deflate even from the first wear, but it's pretty fantastic. So we can link that to you, and I put more information on Tumblr after the fact. I was like, oh my god, I didn't put any shipping information or anything. So we can definitely link that to you as at least one more resource for you.
So,
eBay stuff.
Yeah, eBay.
Yeah.
So eBay is also another place you can find petticoats. There's a lot of caution that goes with eBay, however, because if you type in petticoat, it's going to bring up everything from little girls' tutus to vintage petticoats that go all the way down to the floor, wedding petticoats, things like that.
Rockabilly petticoats.
Rockabilly petticoats also, yeah. So really, you need to know the shape you're after if you're going to go the eBay route. Lovely Lore can attest to this. She actually purchased 2 Leg Avenue petticoats from, I think it was eBay, or it might have been a local shop around her, but you can find Leg Avenue on eBay.
And you can always find them around Halloween time, because all the Halloween stores sell Leg Avenue.
Yes. So those are options. But definitely just look at the shape, look at the photos, and look at the reviews. See if people are getting their stuff shipped to them, all of those sorts of things that always go with eBay. Just, do a little research before you hit that commit
buy now button. Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's definitely an option. There are some really great petties on there. I've heard great things about Victorian Girl Dress, though I have never purchased from them. There are a ton of reviews on their petties on YouTube already, so definitely check those as well. I think their petties run about $24 each, so if you're wanting super poof, you could get 2 of them, but it seems like one is a great A-line option if you're starting out. So look into those as well.
Something to stay away from from would probably be those more kind of rockabilly style petticoats that are like 50s and 60s fashion. They are gonna have that A-line shape, but the problem is when you get to the bottom and it's got all of that ghastly ruffling around the bottom edge, it's gonna give you this kind of funky shape. It gives you an A, but it kind of gives you a little thingy at the bottom.
It's like a serif A. You want a sans serif A, and this is
serif. Yes. It's going to give you that extra little curl that you definitely don't want at the end. So you want to find something that's just a straight, classic A-line is going to be exactly what you're looking for.
Similarly, you can also find petties in vintage shops if you have one around. That kind of goes on the same note as costume stores, but I would check the vintage first, just because they're going to be slightly better material most times. The costume shops do make them, but they're usually kind of itchy, which you can get around that by wearing a slip under them. That's not a big deal, but if you're wearing them all the time, you might go the vintage route, and they do often have A-line petticoats there. But I would definitely suggest wearing your dress into the store and just try it on while you're there and see.
Or bring it in a garment bag if you don't feel like wearing it.
Right. So definitely test that out before you commit to that, because you really don't want that curly cute A that can happen sometimes with rockabilly and square dance petticoats. Some work, some don't. You've just got to try it.
Also on that note with getting first petticoats, a lot of people ask about colors, and we definitely agree, and I'm sure lots of you guys agree that have been through the whole petticoat buying fiasco. We definitely suggest stick with your basics first. If you're going for more of a gothic style, get black first, and then maybe get a white one, and then venture to your colors. If you're going for more sweet, start with white, get a black, and then go to your colors, because nothing is going to be worse than if you say there's like a navy petticoat you fall in love with. You're like, oh my gosh, I really want the navy one. Well, what if your first dress is light pink and it's not lined? It's gonna show underneath it, and that's definitely not something you want. So think about what styles of Lolita you're gonna start with and go from there, and then choose your colors. But definitely start with your basics, because there's nothing worse than having the wrong color. Because I did that.
It's the same thing with wearing a black bra under your white shirt. Same thing. You're gonna have to wear a tank top under it, or you're gonna have to wear a white bra. So just consider that. And there are lots and lots of underskirts available out there, which is also an option if you're a taller Lolita like we are. That'll give you an extra inch underneath, and it can also cover your petticoat. But why buy it if you don't have to?
Absolutely.
So
just more money you have to spend.
Absolutely. And you can even make your own underskirt if, it's really just rectangle of fabric and an elastic band. It doesn't need to be anything fancier than that. If you do find that you got your black petty, and then you find this great light pink dress on the comp sales and you just have to have it, and you're like, well, I shouldn't buy it if I don't have the right colored petty. Underskirt fixes that problem. No one's gonna see it, so it's not that big of a deal, but it is a quick fix to that problem. But I would definitely say go with white first, unless you're really, really considering gothic. White is going to go under everything, and you can wear white under Gothic Lolita, but if the wind blows, someone's going to see it. So if you want it all to match, get your black. Otherwise, I would definitely go with white first, and then black, and then your colors. But really, in all honesty, no one's going to be seeing your petticoat. The point of the petty is not for people to see it, it's to give you the shape. So
nobody's going to be going, girl, what you wearing?
It doesn't really matter what color it is in the grand scheme of things, but as far as, mostly it's the showing through issue that we're trying to warn you against. So consider the kind of wardrobe you're considering purchasing before you choose any particular color.
Because you can end up like me, and you can have a light pink one under your blue, and we'll just pretend it's not there. But again, nobody sees it. You only saw it because I showed it to you, so that's our secret.
Okay, so there are a few different shapes for petticoats. There are really two main shapes. There's the cupcake shape, it's a little bell.
Or the bell shape.
Right, and then there's the A-line shape that really starts at your waist and comes down and gets larger. Almost always you're going to find cupcake or bell shape in Sweet Lolita. There are a few angelic pretty dresses out there that can go either way, but generally speaking, it's going to be bell shape. So if you're considering a sweet wardrobe, I would head towards the cupcake shape first. Lolita-Tips has a really great picture guide in her
She has an
frequently asked
extensive picture guide. We highly suggest checking that out if you haven't already.
Yes. She gives you a great way to kind of determine whether the dress is A-line or cupcake shape. So obviously the other shape that you have the option of is an A-line. You're going to find that a lot more in classic and regularly in gothic. I think gothic can pretty much right down the
It
middle
goes
split
both ways.
but generally it's going to be more of a classic silhouette. So again, if you're heading that way in your wardrobe choices, consider an A-line for your first purchase. You're going to get more wear out of it. It'll be more versatile. Same thing for sweet. You're going to be able to wear that more often. So really you want to pick the petty that will complement your wardrobe
Yes.
best. So.
And from a construction standpoint, kind of a little bit of a cheat that I use in terms of deciding which petticoat you need. If you see a dress and maybe you're buying the dress first and you're going to buy the petticoat along with it, typically, and not all of the time, but typically, if you see a gathered waist, just like what I have here, if you see a gathered waist on that garment, it is most likely going to end up being your cupcake or bell shape. If you see one like Mary Magdalene has tons of them. Mary Magdalene, almost everything that they make.
I don't know that any of their stuff has a cupcake. I think it's all
I think all of theirs is A-line. If you go and look on Mary Magdalene's website at all of the different dresses that they make, there is zero waist seam there. Everything that they make just blends seamlessly. It's what we call a princess seam. And it's not going to have any kind of waist seam. So it's not cinching there and then puffing out. It's going straight down from the bust to the waist and on down into the hem. And that cut is really going to get you the A-line too. So a little bit of a cheat for you, but some dresses, like Kristen said, they can go either way. Some can...
This is a good example of that. These kind of gathers, these little box pleats, they can sometimes go both ways. I could have worn an A-line with this, however I don't currently have an A-line. So I'm wearing my bell shape. Luckily my bell shape kind of is right in between. As odd as that sounds, it just works both ways for me. But anyway, this one, it's not so much of a gather at the top that it's really going to give me a great A shape if I were to wear an A-line, so I can wear it with either in this case. So consider that. Just look at maybe what other people are wearing and kind of determine if it's got this box pleat. Try to guess the sort of shape. If it's going out more at the top, that's going to be a bell. If it's coming down at more of an angle, it's going to be an A. So you can kind of you can cheat a little bit with box pleats. Not always the case, but this one you can.
And that brings us, I think, to our last talking point. Along with your petticoats, also come bloomers, because sometimes petticoats are itchy if they're unlined. And bloomers are not a 100% necessity. I've been in Lolita for like 2 years now. I don't own any. It's not been my priority, to be perfectly honest, and I just haven't made them. But what I do in terms of getting around that, because worst case scenario, I own workout shorts. So I will pop those little guys under there if I'm wearing some kind of itchy petticoat that's not lined. I'll just pop workout shorts underneath, and works for me. No one's gonna be looking at my underpants, so who cares?
Again, the point of your bloomers is to keep people from seeing your undies. That's really the only purpose they serve, other than to protect you from some of the scratchy material of your petticoat, so they can be whatever you want. Until I got bloomers, I just wore a pair of short pajama shorts. They were just that little like sweatpant material, whatever, elastic waistband, nothing fancy. Again, you're not showing people your bloomers, that would be impolite. So,
but the wind sometimes does, so
right.
That's why we have them.
That's, or if you're going downstairs and someone's under you, your bloomers are gonna help you.
Hopefully they're not. If they are, you need to like call the cops on them, because that's not cool. That's not good.
I would say bloomers are a lot more necessary if you're really just wearing socks most of the time. I personally wear tights almost 90% of the time. I think I only have a few pairs of OTKs that I would even wear out. But that's just personal preference, so I don't really have to wear bloomers most of the time, but I do wear them because I like them. So another great thing about them is if you're wearing tights, and if you're tall like me, your tights don't always fit all the way up.
You don't go up into the crotch real well.
Right. So your bloomers are going to help those stay up also. Or if you're wearing socks and you have little sock garters, you can connect those to your bloomers and they'll stay up better. The other option would be sock glue, obviously, but if you don't if you don't want to glue stuff to your skin, if you have sensitive skin or something like that, little garters will help you out a lot with those, and you can just attach those right onto your bloomers.
And the same thing goes for suppliers on those. A lot of the indie brands on Taobao do carry bloomers. They call them pumpkin pants is how it translates, which, think about it, makes sense. It's like two little pumpkins. But the brands also carry them. Classical Puppets carries them, and they're also really easy to make on your own. You can also even you can Google tutorials for bloomers, and you can shorten them if you need to. Sometimes you'll find knee bloomers, and if you find a pattern for those, measure how much shorter you need to make them, and you can just make your own. They're very, very simple. It's literally 1, 2, 3, basically 3 seams. You've got your side seam, crotch seam, elastic around the waist, and then if you want to put some kind of, eyelet or ruffle around the, little leg openings. Yeah, they're really easy to make. You can find all kinds of tutorials if you don't feel like buying any, or if you just want to start a sewing project. That's good for you to start with as well.
One person I know that has a really great bloomer tutorial, her YouTube is EvangeSews. It's very, very simple, easy to follow. She doesn't even, I think, she doesn't have a pattern, she just folds the fabric, measures herself, and makes it really easy for you to follow along. So if you're thinking about making your own, check that out. We'll link that down below as well so that you can see it. And on that note, you can also find lots of homemade bloomers on Etsy. That's a really great place. Since it's such an easy sewing project, tons of people make them. You can get them from anywhere from $15 to $25 on there. So if you're really wanting to be total proper Lolita all the time and you just have to have your bloomers and you want more than one pair, check out Etsy. It's a great place. I got my pair of bloomers from a local vintage store, Donna's Dress Shop. They actually
take me there.
Yes, we will go there. They have them in all sorts of colors, and I think mine were only about $18. They refer to them, however, as petty pants. So that's another Google term you can search for. The ones I have, they're actually made of sort of a rayon nylon kind of material, so they're not the greatest material out there, and I will say the lace is a little scratchy, but again, no one sees my bloomers, so it doesn't matter that the lace isn't super fancy
crochet lace.
Right, there's no point. And that also follows up with the petticoat color. It doesn't matter what color your bloomers are, the point of them is not to be seen. So if you want to get Avengers bloomers, by all means, you wear those.
I'm gonna make those.
I want to see those when they're done. So, and I also know some Lolitas will wear flannel bloomers in the wintertime to stay warm. So they can be really any fabric that you want, just, they're gonna be right next to your skin, so pick something comfy. So that wraps up all of the information we have for you today on petticoats and bloomers. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave us a comment, ask away, email us, whatever you feel comfortable doing, and we'll be happy to answer that for you. Also, do check out the frequently asked questions on Lolita-Tips. She has lots of information about petticoat shapes and bloomers, so that's a great resource for you as well.
Thanks for watching.
Can I get a twerk, twerk, bounce, bounce, clap, clap? Can I get a twerk, twerk, bounce, bounce, clap, clap? Can I get a twerk, twerk, bounce, bounce, clap, clap? Can I get a twerk?